Hare Krishna, everybody. My humble obeisances to all of you. Vancha kalpa tirubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And so because I'm a kindergarten teacher and have also taught very active boys, aged 8 and 9 and 12 and 13, I'm going to request you this morning to stand up and do a little quick song. So if everybody can please stand up. All right. The first thing we're going to do is raise our hands. Now I have to hold the microphone. So if we can, I'm only going to be able to raise one hand, but raise our hands in the air and please repeat after me. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurat Vishe Namaha. And now we're going to sing a little ditty that I learned in gurukula myself. I'm a devotee of Krishna, as happy can be. Here is my tilak, and here are my neck beads. I chant Hare Krishna the whole day through. And if you're smart, you will too. All right, thank you. Please take a seat. I also request that you pull out your phones. Most people will ask you to put your phones away, but I'd like you to pull out your phones right now. And I need a show of hands of how many of you have in the past taught children aged 2 to age 18. Hari bol. All right. I'd like another show of hands of how many of you have a child or a grandchild in your home. All right. And a last show of hands if you know somebody very closely who has taught children or have grandchildren or children in their homes. So that should hopefully be everybody. So as you see, we're all in touch with this age. The title of the presentation is Kindergarten to Graduation. I'm going to be speaking to you precisely about children up until the age of 18. So I was coming here on the way to, let me see what I'm supposed to press here. Oh. We're having some technical difficulties here. And so I was driving here to Sri Mayapur Dham after not having been here for 6 years. And as I was driving on the roads, they're really, really chaotic. I'm sure all of you know who don't live in India. It's a very kind of a scary experience, the 4 hours drive. And coming from TKG Academy, we're very closely associated with His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Ki Jai, because he was the one who, after Srila Prabhupada established the school in Dallas, it was shut down, the boarding school part of it, and he reestablished it as a daycare. And, I mean, as a day school facility in 1979. And since then, his disciples have been managing the school. We have students that are alumni students in their 30s and now also in their 40s. So what I will present to you are things I have learned in my service there at TKG Academy and in my childhood being trained by Mother Urmila. Is it ready to go? All right. So as I was driving, I remembered that over 2 decades ago, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami passed away on the very same roads. And it was a little bit of a sobering thought. And then recently I pulled up Dandavats, and I saw an article about a Mataji in her 70s. I don't know if any of you heard this. She was brutally robbed in her home and strangled, and just recently passed away. And her 40-year-old daughter is in serious condition in the hospital. And like this, every single year, every single few years, we get news of great devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness in their homes, but they are met with either death from timely circumstances like illness, or untimely circumstances, And it makes you pause and wonder, if suddenly it was my time to go, or if I was hit with a disease that made it that I had only a few days or a few months to live, would I be ready to go back to Krishna? How many of us feel that we can say with 100% certainty that we will travel straight to Goloka Vrindavan at the end of this death, at the end of this life? 100% certainty. Okay, there is one wonderful Mataji here. I love that. I'm going to take the dust of your lotus feet. And how many of us think perhaps 90% certainty we will travel back to Goloka Vrindavan at the end of our life? Okay. I thought I was the only one. Honestly, I was like, oh, we're in Mayapur Dham, that all Dhambasis, their hands are going to be up. If that's not going to happen, where will we be taking our birth next? Hopefully, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, in an ISKCON temple or ISKCON family, with parents that are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead through Srila Prabhupada's mission. And that's what happened. So many children took birth in our homes. My husband's mother was a Prabhupada disciple, is a Prabhupada disciple, and she got in direct instruction from Srila Prabhupada in 1971 in a letter to please go to the Dallas Gurukula and serve. At that time, the Dallas Gurukula was filled with hundreds of children. And there were so many gurukulas around the world that were filled with so many children. But now, if you look at my husband's friends and peers, a very, very small handful of them actually practice Krishna consciousness today. And this is the picture of my class. Oops. Where did it go? It's not here. 1991, it's a picture I was going to show you of 25 of my friends in my 1990-1991 school picture. Only 3 of them are actively practicing Krishna consciousness today. So, if you are not 100% sure that you're making it back to Godhead, that means that you are very, very sure that you're coming back. And you're going to be entering the home of a practicing devotee. And after you enter the home of a practicing devotee and you graduate, the percentages are very slim that you will be actively practicing Krishna consciousness after you graduate in ISKCON today. This is a very, very sobering feeling, and this is why I am here on behalf of all of my peers and all of the children and youth that are in our ISKCON homes and temples today to request us together to change this. And so, let's see if I can catch up to where I need to be. Okay, so we all know the very famous verses in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna asks Krishna. It's actually 3 verses that he's asking. And the words that he's using, you feel his anxiety, just as all of us may be feeling that anxiety right now. And in these verses, he says, what happens to the unsuccessful transcendentalist? Where does he go? And the last verse of these 3 questions is, Tuma vina ar, as we pray to Panchatattva in the morning, without you we have no shelter, we have no hope. Arjuna uses that same terminology. Without you, we have no way to know this. Please remove our doubt. What will happen to those who are practicing and cannot make it? And Krishna replies, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. So all of these children and youth that are in our homes today are Suchinam, Srimatam. Basically, the 2 verses summarize 2 aristocratic transcendentalists. So if I can have everybody say that, please. Aristocratic transcendentalist. So when we think of an aristocratic transcendentalist, and Srila Prabhupada in the purport of that immediately remembers His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and, thank you so much. Okay, so back up to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's image. It's not there. Anyways, you all know what he looks like. I had chosen. There we go, Jai. One of him with a really, really nice overcoat. He was at the front lines of the contemporary society. And we can go to the next one, Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada is standing in a line among businessmen, and the way his head is raised, his posture, extremely aristocratic. So when we look at our children, the little snot-nosed 2-year-olds that are running around, we need to think in our minds that Krishna has seen these children as aristocratic transcendentalists. In their previous life, one of them was a temple commander in Sweden Temple. Another one was a congregation member who was supporting the entire community with his hard work and donations. Another one of those children that I see running around in the temple was a book distributor with top scores that has now passed away. All, if not most, if not all of our children are devotees in their previous life. It's been 50 years since ISKCON's been established. And so, unfortunately, 88% of my class is gone. So how can we change this? I'm going to share with you the 5 R's that we have come up with that can change this entire dynamic so that when each of us takes birth again in a Vaishnava home, we feel confident that the educators sitting together in 2020 worked together to change this dynamic. The first one is real, unadulterated love. Please say that out loud. Love and only love. Bhakti means only love, and love is the negation of hate, cruelty, and negativity. And so next slide, please. We are going to make a firm conviction, a stand against any negativity, any negative energy towards our children, towards our students. No hitting, no yelling, no tantruming, no moralizing, no preaching down, no expecting the child to listen to you because you said so, and no using the scripture against your students in order to discipline them. And this no negativity, I'm again, because it's so important, going to ask you to stand up and place your hands above your head as if you're holding this board. You're holding a board, and on this board says no. All right, and reason I'm saying this is because if you go on Facebook today, is there any talk about all the education services that all of you are doing? No. The talk is of the hurt and the pain that has happened to my friends and to our children. And even now today, when I check with the youth in the communities, how was your experience? Did you have a good experience? Do you feel happy about Krishna consciousness? We as educators need to do this first and foremost. So that's the first R. And now we will go to the second R, which is reactivating flow. So flow is a state of full immersion. Bhakti yoga means complete and total immersion. Flow is an educational philosophy and a state where the child, next slide, is so absorbed that they don't really know what's going on around them. In order to get this to happen, you have to create active learning environments. You see Rajraj here in our Spiritual Friday program. He doesn't even know that the camera is there. And I remember when the devotee was taking the pictures, he was so absorbed in dressing Lord Chaitanya. We do this in our math, our science, our social studies, and all of our curriculum in Dallas. And the way we do this is by, we can move on, engaging all 5 senses in all of the activities. Rishikesha Savior, Bhaktir Uchyate. All 5 senses, their academics are their devotional service. And so an active learning environment is very important. Now we'll move on to number 3. We'll keep going to number 3. Number 3 is recognition. Now as devotees, we don't expect pride and distinction, right? We're supposed to be humble, and we try and teach each other, teach our children to not be proud. So this isn't the recognition that creates pride. This is the recognition that Lord Nityananda had when he saw Jagai and Madai. He saw all of their negative qualities for sure, but he completely ignored it and went and saw that they were his dearmost friends and servants and recognized the little spark, bhavagrahi janardana. So this comes from the nurtured heart approach. It's called active recognition. And what it is an action that leads to a quality. So I noticed that you picked up all of the markers that your friend dropped. That shows me that you have responsibility. It's an action that leads to a quality, and we do these training programs and we offer these courses. If you want more information on how to do this, this makes your students, it blossoms your students into the spiritual soul qualities that you expect them to have. And here are some practices that we can have. I noticed you checking your schedule, helping, listening, keeping hands to yourself. You are hardworking, friendly, persistent. So instead of saying negative comments and giving them a negative label, which is what we tend to do as parents and educators, we are going to use our words to do the positive. And this works with adult students as well. As much as possible, action to quality. And it's not just praise. Praise increases ego. This is just a noticing. That particular action you did made this particular quality. Number 4, reasoning and inquiry. Now this you were talking about skills learning, and it's such a long topic, such a big topic. We have a tendency to shut our children down when they're asking us questions or when they're fighting up against us or debating what we want to say. But if you remember, aristocratic, transcendentalist, dhimatam, Krishna uses, full of wisdom. Do you think those children who are Sankirtan leaders and already initiated devotees are going to be 5 years old and just accepting what everybody says to them? Very intelligent children. When they're asking questions, take a deep breath and listen. Asking and reasoning is a sign of intelligence. Srila Prabhupada, when he first met his spiritual master, our founder Acharya, the very first thing he did was he challenged him, respectfully challenged him. What you're saying, how is it relevant? And so our children may do the same thing with us. It's part of their process. And so we'll move on. There are ways that we do reasoning and inquiry. The next slide, and all of these are long discussions and topics that we have incorporated: self-reflection, executive functioning, metacognition. And number 5, we will go to now, responsibility. So someone was talking about how their daughter or their friend's daughter doesn't even know how to, fold her sari. Responsibility means that by the age of 12 or 13, children are ready to completely take control of their surroundings and their emotions. And adults need to start stepping back and allowing them to. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was running a store at age 12. And I was across the street in Mayapur, and there was a young man. He said he was 20, but I think he was about 14. He's also running a store. Children in this day and age are completely controlled by needing to sit in desks and follow industrial revolution type of system of education. They're not allowed to take control. They're thrown in cookie-cutter type environments. And even in our temples, Srila Prabhupada made temple presidents of 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. And still, our children at 19 and 20 are going through the cookie-cutter environment. So in Dallas, we try for different festivals to give the youth the responsibility, take it on, do it, make it happen. And there's a few more slides. Here in our high school program, so we have 4 students who have just now entered high school, and this was our second year for high school. We're hoping to increase the high school program with schools all across North America. We have a Spiritual Friday program where the kids do all of the sadhana bhakti processes. They dress and bathe the deities, they prepare the arti tray, learn all the details behind it, lead the kirtans, give the class, and translate that into the temple. And here is Gandiva. She's a 14-year-old young 9th grader. We decided last year that we were going to hand over the Spiritual Friday program to the kids who have been trained for 10 years in it. So each high schooler leads a whole team of younger students. We give the list of objectives, we work it out with them, and they train and they teach the students, and we're working on this in many more different environments. And so, I don't know if all of you are familiar with, of course you are, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's well known for establishing the Sankirtan movement, but I love saying this, and I might say it every single time I talk about education, but did you know that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before he established the Sankirtan movement, he was the principal of a school. God was the principal of a school. He started a school. And what did he teach? Grammar. He taught grammar. And grammar, language and linguistics, of course. And he tied it with the Lord's holy name and with Krishna consciousness so powerfully. He did that before he started the Sankirtan movement. So Sankirtan begins at home. I'm requesting all of you, if we're not going to do it for our existing kids today, we're all educators. Let us stand up and do it for ourselves when we are met with an untimely passing or when it is time for us to leave. Thank you so much. I am Gopi Gita Devi Dasi. If you have any interest in any more of these topics, please contact me. I am a humble servant of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Please wait, Mataji, because we're going to take questions and comments. So we have another 8-9 minutes for question answers. Thank you so much. Any questions? Please don't distribute any pamphlets right now, Prabhu. We can do that when we have a break, or you should come a little bit earlier. Any questions or comments for Gopi Gita Mataji?
Thank you.
Here from Maharaj.
Thank you, Mataji, for your presentation. You know, I also had the opportunity to be in Dallas in the 1970s, and I knew some of the students there also, quite familiar. I helped sometimes looking after the children. I wanted to say to you that is it fair that we compare the children who were the gurukula students then in the 1970s, many of these children, their parents sometimes not even devotees, and of course we're coming up, you know, we joined the movement in the 1970s, and we had children, devotees had children, put the children in school there. You know, how can we compare them to the lives of Bhaktisiddhanta, you know, that he's born in a Vaishnava family, you know, Father Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a very different cultural upbringing. So to compare them, you know, it's not, is it just? I don't think it's quite fair.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much. First of all, for your sacrifice in being there and watching over the children in Dallas, and also for correcting me. I accept that correction. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is a Siddha, you know, pure devotee, and he's not going to be the same as someone who's taking birth in my home, for sure. There is such a thing as a law of expectations, where we see our children to be and what they're supposed to be, the way we interact with them, every single day, every single encounter will create that being that we're visualizing. And so the reason why I give the example of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti and Srila Prabhupada is because he himself, Prabhupada, in that purport to the second verse after Suchinam Srimatam Gehe, gave the example. He said the children that are being born in the houses of transcendentalists are very rare. And then underneath it he says, my spiritual master was one such child. And then underneath that he says, my humble self is also one such child. In addition, Srila Prabhupada said that taking care of our children, child worship is more important than deity worship. And the last thing, of course, we know these quotes, I'm going to just throw it out there, these children are Vaikuntha children. If we see that this child can be a potential personality to be a servant just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or a servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our whole way of working with our children will change. I hope that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another question on this table, yes?
I'm trying to open a, hello. I'm trying to open a daycare center for age 3 to 5. in my village, where the children are 100% neglected, and they are playing in the dust and all those things. They don't wear even good clothes. So my idea is that as the child learns his mother tongue, and he learns before age 5, and then once he has learned mother tongue, he will never forget throughout his age. So similarly, I wanted to give them Hare Krishna name to them in the age 3 to 5, and then I hope they will, at least out of 50,
Prabhu, do you have a question?
5 may go up like that. So what is your advice to bringing up?
So thank you so much for your intention to help children aged 3 to 5. And we can definitely talk in more detail. Quite a few things that you can do. Quickly, I'll just say 3 to 5 is the best age to involve them completely in Krishna's transcendental pastimes. I don't know what the standards here in India are for 3 to 5, but in America, they're not, you don't want to spend too much time on content. You want to spend time on Leela and heart and establishing that Krishna is my very best friend. So we can talk again personally about this. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take another question or comment. Here, in the front, please. Here.
So it's a full-time academy, education system, or it also involves homeschooling kind of concepts?
No, it's a full school, starting from preschool all the way to high school and moving on to dual enrollment. I have my 2 sons back there. One has graduated and is in his 3rd year of college at age 18, and the other one has entered college at age 14. And we have many students that have already done that process. We merge the state objectives with the Krishna Conscious objectives, and all of our classes are taught with the Krishna Conscious perspective and an active learning environment.
Any other questions? Pancharatna Prabhu.
We hear a lot about different systems of Montessori and Steiner, and I heard, I think it's called Palmer system in New Zealand. Do you find that's value in looking at these different approaches and trying to bring them together?
Absolutely. In this age of technology, at least in the Western world, there is such a need to go back to classic education. And these systems, Steiner and Montessori, they've done a lot of work at establishing actual curriculum in the classes. Their philosophy of education, Steiner's a little impersonalist, Montessori also leans to that. So at TKG Academy, what we have found is picking and choosing the things that work, that fit in with the philosophy of education that we've developed for Krishna Conscious, for example, multi-level classrooms where the older students teach the younger students. A child staying with the same teacher to develop a personal relationship with that child for the duration of their young ages. A lot of little ways like that that we've found from these different educational philosophies. But because they have the curriculum and a lot of materials to produce an active learning environment, it's really been helpful to gain from their programs. Thank you, Pancharatna.